Monday, December the 4th, meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. We will let members and staff introduce themselves.
Eric Gilbertson, member.
Martha Smirsky, member.
Benjamin Cheney, member.
Steve Everett, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Okay, we'll let Meredith review the remote meeting procedures and process.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is mostly for people watching via ORCA Media. But some of the things I say are going to be for everybody. All right, for anyone viewing tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in the meeting via the Zoom platform through either video or telephone access options. For the full video experience, type this link into your web browser, and I will see that you're looking to get into the meeting and let you in. The other option is to use this call-in number and then put in this meeting ID. Again, you'll go into the waiting room and I will see that you want to come in. If anyone has problems accessing the meeting, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. I will be monitoring my email throughout the meeting. For those attending via Zoom, turning your video on is optional. We do ask that people keep their microphones on mute when they're not speaking. This reduces background noise. And please restrict the Zoom chat function for troubleshooting or logistics questions only. Please note that in the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
If everyone's had a chance to look at the applications, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor of the agenda, speak your names.
Martha.
Ben.
Eric.
And Steve. So the agenda is approved. And unless anybody has anything else to add, we can move to the first application, which is the continuation of 1 School Street. Applicant Hood and Air, review exterior renovations. Is someone there from Hood and Air?
Yes. John Rahill is going to speak on behalf of Hood and Air.
Okay.
And that was Tim.
Yes.
So we are here to provide some more detail as requested from the last meeting. Thank you all for braving the weather and conducting this meeting, because I know the owner is excited about getting going. Did you all have a chance to see the revised elevations and details?
Looked at him.
Yes. But I'm still a little confused about what the windows on the lower floor on the School Street side are going to look at. What I've got in front of me is still some like lines drawn through the windows, and I'm really unable to picture what that's going to look like.
I'm not sure you have the latest, because that was a concern on the first submission, but we've done colored construction drawings to give you a better idea. Are you still, is that what you're looking at? Let's be sure we're looking at the updated submission.
Well, I'm looking at what I was given over the weekend.
There should be the additional stuff towards the back. because I
Meredith,
think
can
you
you
got the
share-
full packet, Martha.
Can you
Yeah,
share your
I'm
screen,
looking.
Meredith?
I can. I don't know if Martha can see it.
I cannot see it. I can't see it.
Yeah, she's restricted to phone.
There we go. That's
So Martha, do you look at the back? Can you find it?
Yeah, I see new submissions, but they still just look like black squares to me. And
Well,
that really is not,
that's
it doesn't help me.
that's actually the point here. We have a sort of interesting challenge, and that is to show you a pattern where we hope you really can't tell what the pattern is. So these are windows in the middle of what's otherwise a insulated panel, and they'll be very subtle. Be a very subtle difference between the two. There's if somebody wanted to have a very good example of how well this works, the addition to the Gary home has a little porch facing north, and they have a series of white columns, and between it is some configuration of windows that you can't quite tell whether it's a couple of double hungs or whatever, but it's very effective in showing off the columns and not showing off the windows. So I think this is a good representation. I don't know how to make it more distinct without misrepresenting it. The drawing on the left shows the details of how we're going to do this. We're raising the floor 18 inches, so we couldn't, even if you said it has to be glass all the way down, it'd be very hard to put a window below the framing, and it doesn't make sense, since these are going to be apartments, to have a bedroom with floor-to-ceiling glass. So this was our attempt at emphasizing the historic character again, and still having it work functionally as apartments.
I do recall that your concern the last time was in making some windows that would give the privacy to the apartments involved. So
Correct.
I do see that.
I'm assuming these windows are fixed glass.
That is correct on this facade. That's correct.
Okay. And there are three windows. Is that still a doorway in the middle?
That is still an existing doorway that goes to the second floor apartments, and that we're keeping the existing door. And if you look, this is maybe instructional. In the earlier submission, there's a photograph of the existing. Let me see if I can't find it. And that's got an existing bronze commercial door in the opening, and it actually sort of disappears. I don't see it here, but
Yes.
that would stay just as it is.
Okay. No,
And
that's
it's quite effective. It's going to be quite effective in receding, while these bright columns are going to pop out just like the old building.
right.
Okay.
John,
Sure.
are the black panels are going to be behind glass? The windows are going to be glass as if they were windows?
No, we'll pick a black aluminum panel, as if you were, doing a building with storefront, and parts of it are not glass, but an insulated panel. They'll be black, painted aluminum.
Well, one of the important things about windows is their reflectivity, how they reflect light.
Yeah.
And if those are going to be fixed glass windows, I would think the glass, putting the black panels up behind the glass would be would make it even less visible. that you had added that.
I wonder if they make a shiny or a glass. I don't think it's a good idea to put a piece of glass and then insulate behind it. That's apt to fog up and without being able to maintain it. So I hate to suggest that. We could certainly try to get as shiny a piece of metal as possible. I agree with you.
The glass and the metal, how is that going to be joined and divided?
Well, do you see the detail on that same elevation?
Put them up on the screen, please.
These windows are going to have a frame, and they'll be black. And again, I think that there's such a good example over there on the Gary home that's worth looking at how effective that is. You really can't tell what type of window because the black of the window frame and the windows pattern all disappear within this nice pattern of lighter columns. So I think this is going to work as well as possible.
I don't recall right off, but maybe you can help me. On the older pictures you have, the one with the horses in them, are there panels below the windows?
I doubt it, but no, I don't see panels.
The windows go all the way to the ground?
They do. Of course, in the picture, there's stuff in the windows. I mean, that was a store.
Yeah, but usually there's a panel below the window.
Maybe, but from the one I can see, I wouldn't guarantee that. It only shows really one window effectively, and there's stuff. There might be a panel in the bottom foot.
Yeah.
I can't. Does anybody?
I see the two windows on the Elm Street side in your picture that show the glass going all the way down.
On the Elm Street side. Well, those are actually panels and windows. Very similar. Because that's an apartment beyond. Again, it's very hard to demonstrate an attempt to have you not notice it. But those are windows as well for the apartment.
And so, real quick, I'm looking at your section elevation.
Yes.
Section 2, and I see a line which I think is the drywall plane on the inside, and I'm assuming that it is just there's not actually drywall in front of the window. That line is there from a section cut. I guess essentially my question is, if I was on the street and I put my hands up against the window, I would be able to see in there if I wanted to.
Correct.
If somebody didn't. Okay, so we're not. Okay. Yeah.
It's a window. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a full-on window.
Yeah. And they'll probably need curtains or perhaps
sure.
privacy, but yeah, this is a compromise between, and we didn't think they needed all of them windows. So if you'll notice, the second panel is the second opening between piers is all panel, and the existing commercial door that goes up to the second floor will have panel around it and panel above as we recreate this
assuming the treatment and the corner door, what's now a corner door, is the same.
The corner door the corner door is going to be turned into a window, and then the door is moved around to Elm Street. And the reason for that is that we're raising the floor 18 inches, and we got to get people outside without having without having this platform and steps that are even higher than they are now, we can't have that interfere with the city sidewalk. So if you look at the plan on elevation 1, you'll see that by moving the entrance door around to what is currently bricked over, you can't even see that last opening between pilasters, but it's, if you look from the inside, you can see that and also the old photographs that was there. So once again, we're emphasizing the pilasters and trying to de-emphasize what's going on within them.
I realize this is sort of out of our purview, but how do you get to the apartment on the riverside? Like, I know that entry door goes up the stairs, and then there's or what the layout is, or is that I guess what I'm wondering is there like, how do you get to that other apartment?
Which other apartment?
Well, I don't know what the
Upstairs?
layout is on the inside. I'm imagining a hallway. And
Which upstairs, Ben?
no, where the like deli side of the store used to be. I'm assuming that's an apartment that goes out onto the balcony.
Well, so you're talking about the first floor.
Yes, first floor.
Okay.
Behind.
So and there's 2 apartments, and
Yep.
imagine, and so there's very crudely, there's a line that goes from Elm Street to the river.
Yes.
So one apartment is all on the School Street exposure, and the other apartment is all to the south. All the bedrooms in each apartment face the river and have access to the balcony.
So basically, all these School Street windows are looking into one apartment.
That's correct.
That is accessed by that one new entry that you're putting. Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the living area is on the corner, and then we think it's going to make the bedrooms quite nice to be facing the river and have the quiet and privacy of the river, as well as operable windows.
Yep.
And to follow that up, on one of your designs here, you have an indication of a new stoop at raised doorway to the back porch. And this is on the School Street porch side. I'm not following how that would work.
This is on the riverside.
Correct.
Right. So if you go to further along in the packet, we did a much more detailed drawing of before and after. And once again, we are, if you look very closely, you can see what we're trying not to let you see, which is, rather than modify the existing balcony that's on the outside of the porch, we have to raise up a landing to get out, because from the raised floor level. So we're going to do a little platform that doesn't go all the way out the width of the porch. And you'll see, if you look very carefully, that there's a black railing there, which we intentionally want to recede. And that minimizes the impact on the existing railing visually.
Okay. Does that entryway there break through the guardrail that's over the bridge?
No, that's closed off now and will remain so. You can sort of see. You see, it's must be. Yeah.
I mean, no, John, do you even need a railing there?
Do we need a railing?
Yeah.
Is that? Yes. By code, we need to.
It's more than a 30-inch drop from where you exit the door down to the deck of the porch.
No, that's railing, I think, only, let's see, what do we have there? No, that's only 18 inches. So that is only 3 feet tall. But you'll notice, and again, you have to look pretty carefully, that at some point they put a black bar above the existing railing, because it's further than that down to the river. So we won't make that stoop railing any higher than it has to be. Because if you fell off that, you'd be falling onto the porch, not the river.
Right.
Right. We understand that, I think.
I'm not convinced you need a railing there, but what do I know? But you might be able to have a handrail just as you come out the door. With an 18-inch drop.
Let's see. We're going up 18 inches.
Michelle can answer that. I'm just some person.
Well, that's a good point, Ben. Let me check that, because I don't know whether there's a step down now or whether it's totally flush. That might make the difference. But that's worth checking, because we don't need it. We don't need it.
It's totally flush, John.
Then we might be able to eliminate the 4-inch spindle. Just have
all that gobbledygook might be able to go away, but that you'll have to check with Michelle.
And we have to keep it far enough away. See, I have to check too. I have to make sure it's far enough away from the other railing. I think it had to be 3 feet away before you fall off the platform and then into the river. If it was right next to it, of course, I couldn't do it. But that's worth checking. That's a good suggestion.
What's the width of the deck?
6 feet.
Right here. Ooh, I don't have that.
So an 18-inch drop would require at least three steps. So 3 times 12 is 36. So once you came down the steps, you would only have 3 feet left. The other thing is that even if you have 3 steps without a railing, on the sides, it drops off the entire 18 inches. So just for safety's sake, the steps should wrap around all sides so nobody's stepping off of it.
Yeah, I think I would still recommend a railing at the edge so somebody didn't stagger straight out the door and trip. But we might not need the 4-inch spindles.
That's mostly my point, and that it could just be a less visual thing.
Yeah. Good suggestion.
And again, whatever code requires, but the least amount that's considered safe and functional would be fine.
Yeah, I think what we have to check is, I think that 18-inch limitation has to be within 3 feet of the platform, and we're pretty close there. But I will check that, and we will not do more than we need to. I can assure you.
Okay.
Okay, back to these windows.
Yes.
The steel that is going to be the panel, that's going to be just painted black.
Well, no, the glass companies, if you look at commercial buildings, they often have insulated panels associated with a commercial storefront. So these are pre-painted, very durable aluminum pieces that typically have some urethane adhered to them, which keeps them, flush and keeps from warping. So that's the concept. Is the Acme Glass will have a panel that they typically use as part of storefronts.
They're usually anodized colored panels, either black or brown, dark browns, or whatever color you request.
Exactly, and we said steel, but they would be. You're right. They're painted aluminum.
Okay.
The front, the existing corner door is just going to be filled in with glass, the same way you're doing the side doors.
Correct. That's in the living room, so that's going to have a window. But the one to the east of that is going to be a solid panel.
The other suggestion, and you're going to replicate the brackets from along the roof line, the corners, along the top of the windows.
We show a detail, and we had shown that in the previous submission. We're going to copy the pilasters that are on the Elm Street side, and shown that to the contractor, and he says, "Yeah, I think we can duplicate that." So yes, it'll be as in the other half of the building.
What about the brackets? Are you going to replicate those as well?
Yep.
A quick suggestion: when they did all the brackets on College Hall, up at the Vermont College, they used a CNC device. They took a bracket and scanned it, and were able to run it through a CNC machine and get an exact duplicate.
Huh,
and
that's a good idea.
I think it was Connor Construction that did that.
Yep, it was. That was our project.
But I think that would you'd get an exact replica. But for the small number of brackets you have, you'd have to figure out whether that's worth it or not.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
John, I'm curious what other thoughts you had about these windows. This feels like a really, I don't know that I have another idea in this moment, and it feels like a very kind of big architectural gesture to take away, like to go back. I mean, A, you're doing a better job than what's there, period. And then B, making that gesture to go back to those old storefront glass, which was clearly beautiful and ideal, and that you're trying to bring that back. I greatly appreciate. And I can, it lets you see that in the building without necessarily duplicating it. I guess I'm wondering if there were other ideas that you had before this kind of black aluminum for how to accomplish that. Just curious mostly, because I do see the effort that you're making here, and I appreciate it.
Well, I think this is a wonderful example of how powerful color is as a tool to make things recede and make things come forward. And if we were doing black columns and white windows, it wouldn't work. But this, I think, and again, that example, I just happened to notice driving by at the Gary home, and I said, "Look at that nice porch." And I said, "Oh my God, he's got some windows, some pattern of windows in there," but you can't tell. And that's the whole point: is that we want these columns to be so strong that seeing that window trim and the black horizontal and how shiny the panel is versus the glass, and Eric brings up a good point that it's black sometimes, but at night it's not going to be black. But I think it's really using the tool of color most effectively to make a very strong replication of the handsome old building. I don't know. I mean, what I like about that effectiveness of the color is that you can leave the existing bronze door going up to the second floor, and it's going to be fine. That's not going to, that bronze storefront is that doesn't fit in any way the style of this building, but it's going to disappear. So I think it's a very forgiving scheme.
And I know you showed us the pictures, but I'm still wondering about some panels down along the street, because that black is going to show all the splash salt and everything.
Well, that's true. That's a downside of a dark color, or a non-dirt color. Who has a black vehicle? Anybody has a black vehicle knows that. We can look. I'm see what they have for super shiny black. They may have a gloss that is very similar to a window. I mean, if there's a window there, you'd still have to clean it. So I think our goal is to try to get it as close in texture, as smooth as a piece of glass.
There's going to be a wood frame in between around the window part, the glass part. the real wood.
Probably not wood. We'll probably go to a more durable material, but I think there'll be a frame around the window and a frame around the panel. You know, delicate, small.
Yes.
Again, painted black, disappearing black.
Part of me thinks this is a tacky idea, but I'm going to say it anyhow. The photographs that you have here, and I know the photographs of this building and its historical place and like how long it ran as a continuously as a store and the iterations that it's gone through are really interesting. And I think you're making an excellent effort to do a modern take on realizing that buildings don't like stay stuck in time like humans, they change over time. And having access to all those photographs tell a really interesting story, and whether there was a way to kind of like somehow use those photographs in one of those panels as just a way to sort of show the history of the building, I think would be, I'm toying with it whether I like the idea or not, but I think those photographs are powerful and your efforts are good. So
I wonder whether, I mean, that's a good point. I wonder whether you could do, I mean, one of the things that's missing and going to be missing is, you know, the so-and-so market. And I'm wondering whether you could, looking at the old sign, it's not a very nice one, but I wonder whether you could somehow put the old so-and-so market up on the sign band.
yeah.
And, you know, have that make people realize that it was both commercial, but no longer.
Yeah.
You don't want people knocking at the door and saying, "Isn't this the old? Can I get a quart of milk?" That's an interesting idea.
It's a thought. I don't know, but it's just a.
It's going to be kind of blank, you know, sort of like the other Elm Street side. But that's an interesting idea.
Ben, I don't think your idea is crazy at all. I'm thinking about, there's a lot of blank wall along Elm Street, between the two storefronts on Elm Street. And just a panel and frame there with photographs, historic photographs of the building would be a pretty easy thing to do.
Well, we could there's a big blank wall between the two apartments on the Elm Street. That could be a very nice display case. It's not really sort of part of the architecture, but this is a pretty cool photograph. And
well,
we're going to be very close to it.
I think Ben's absolutely right. It's really neat to see the historic photographs of what this corner store was like over the years.
Yeah.
And even the photographs of it being ugly with the way it kind of is right now with what the improvement that you're making to it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because people will say, yeah, it's always been like this.
Right. So,
yeah.
Anyhow.
No, Tim, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it drawn up and stuff, but
sure.
You know, there's certainly a way we can get it incorporated, the historic history of the building. I'm not against that.
It's a cool building and it's got a cool history, and I appreciate the effort that you're putting into it. And I think it would be nice to be able to tell a story to people walking by. But again, you're not, if it feels like something you're excited about, that's great. And noodle about it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it adds a lot of expense. And, you know, again, if it's, I'm sure John could do it in a tasteful way that, you know, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a signed band now. I mean, we're proposing a signed band, but it's going to be empty. So
I don't like the idea of a sign of the market. I think that does add confusion.
I think you'd have to say former on the sign. Yeah, otherwise you'd be giving a mixed message.
Yeah.
Yes.
Corner market apartments or something.
Oh, there you go. That's an idea. Yeah.
We can certainly look at that.
What was is this? I'm trying to read what the name. Does anybody remember? This is the something grocery store. Looks like.
Looks like it says Cash Grocery Store.
Oh, Cash. Cash. That's what
there-
it says. Sweeney
in the-
and
Sweeney
And
and Sweeney.
Sweeney and Sweeney.
yeah.
The old city, I think the Kellogg Hubbard Library has the old city directories, and you could, and that has a listing of addresses of all the companies, all the buildings in town, and they would probably have the address of exactly the title, the name of the store.
Yeah.
John, do you think Hood and Air Cash Apartments would work?
You don't have. You don't qualify as a store owner.
No, but
But I like the
I have
idea.
one-
If you put apartments in there, then people aren't going to knock on the door.
I
That's a
have
good idea.
one. I have one last question. Was there any more detail or any changes on the proposed raised mechanical room and front gate?
Yes. Again, on that Elm Street elevation, we show basically a dark stained wood gate. And let's see, where do we show the plan? The two buildings don't line up. Yeah, I guess we didn't show that. The other building on Elm Street that Tim is renovating is a foot back from
Yes.
the front of the store. So I think Eric suggested that we try to get that gate so that when it's open, it doesn't go beyond the front of the building. And we can, using the existing steps that are there, which are huge granite steps, we can get it so that the one gate swings out and the other swings in, and it doesn't go beyond the front of the
The brick building.
it goes a foot beyond the other one, but I think that'll be, you'd have to, we're going to have steps outside the apartment, so people aren't going to be walking into it. That's going to keep people 3 feet away. So I think, again, we're trying to show something that you can't see, which is not easy, but the dark stain, and you really won't see what's behind it. We've got to go to some gymnastics to get access to the two entry points to the basements, and they're different on either side. But I think we can, one of the gates has to be lower than the other, as I think we showed in the commission. But I think it's all going to be disappearing by having it vertical boards that are stained black.
Okay.
And I think that earlier submission shows what we're working with here for steps and access points. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room as to how we make that work, but I think this will very much receive visually.
Okay. Does anyone have any additional questions, comments, or suggestions, or we can go through the criteria sheet for the project?
My only comment is significant appreciation for taking the time to come back to us with more and better renderings that give us a greater idea of what you're doing.
Okay.
No problem.
you're welcome.
So I can read down through the criteria for all projects. Number 1, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize an historic property shall be avoided, although in this case, the removal of the newer materials is a bonus. Character defining features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize an historic building shall be preserved. Deteriorated character defining features shall be repaired. In this particular case, the modernization is being removed to restore the original appearances. Any treatments that cause damage to historic materials, including but not limited to chemical or physical treatments, such as sandblasting, shall not be approved. And this is acceptable for this application. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but shall respect and be compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing, and overall character of the primary historic building and nearby historic properties. It's acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, mechanical equipment, trash storage, and fencing shall be sited to minimize adverse visual impact and adequately and appropriately screened from public view. Acceptable. Alterations to buildings called for by public safety, accessibility, and fire codes shall be designed to maintain the character of the construction materials and features to the maximum extent feasible. Acceptable. For parcels with both river and street frontage, development shall be oriented so that both river and street facades are primary. Materials on the river side of a structure shall be of equal character and quality as those on the street side. Both facades should incorporate fenestration, detailing, and other building components that are dimensionally proportional and are pedestrian friendly. Acceptable. Proportion, compatibility of relationship between width and height of facades, as well as relationship of width to height of windows and doors. Acceptable. Rhythm, the visual patterns established by the alterations of solid walls and openings, windows and doors, and the facade of a building shall create a rhythm. Patterns of solids and openings shall be preserved to the extent feasible. Acceptable. Signage removal. When removing a sign, evidence of the sign's installation must be removed to the greatest extent practicable. Acceptable. Outdoor lighting fixtures. The structural design of outdoor lighting fixtures shall be compatible with the architectural design and function of the building and compatible with the neighborhood. Acceptable. Landscaping, screening, and site furnishings, mechanical equipment screening is acceptable. Windows and doors on historic structures. Character defining windows and door patterns, placement, sizes, proportions, and original features, such as trim, sash, and molding, shall be preserved to the extent possible. When preservation is not possible, such character-defining windows and doors must be rehabilitated or replaced in kind. Windows and doors that are not character-defining may be replaced, but such replacements must be compatible with the historic building's style, materials, and architectural features. Acceptable. Porches and stairs on historic structures. The location of porches, ramps, and stairs shall be placed in a manner that does not impact or undermine the original and significant ornamentation or detailing of the existing building. Stairs, ramps, and porches shall employ suitable detailing to connect and be compatible with the historic and important design features of existing buildings and new construction. Stairs and ramps shall be designed in a manner with details and materials that provide the most sensitive and compatible structure and that fits the building design and layout. Acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
Eric,
Ben,
This is Martha. I say yes.
And Steve says yes, so it's approved. It's unanimous, 4 in favor.
Thank you for coming back, and thanks for your good work on the building. I think it's going to look really nice.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank
your
you
time.
all. Yep.
Have a great holiday.
Thank you for your time and effort, and best of luck with your project.
Thanks, Steve. See everyone. Bye, Marion.
Thank you. Bye.
We can move to the next application, which is for 44 Main Street. Owner Ajax Moving and Storage, Hugo's, review the new projecting sign. Is someone from the applicants present?
Hey, Steve, Tom Green's here from Hugo's.
Hi, Tom.
How are you?
Good.
So
Describe your new sign for us.
Thank you. I'll do my best. My knowledge of this, honestly, is a little bit inch deep because I'm not the designer, but I think this is a relatively straightforward blade sign. It's in keeping with the historic character of the building. It is in keeping with what Meredith and staff suggested where we should put a sign, which is right above our opening. The lighting is already pre-existing. It's already installed there. So we're asking for a simple Hugo's Blade sign that is also, I think, in keeping with kind of the speakeasy nature of the restaurant. It's subtle. It doesn't say, it doesn't say Hugo's Bar and Grill. It's a simple Hugo's sign that comes out. And we're also asking for the placement of a magnetic menu that we can put on the outside so people understand exactly what we're doing upstairs. And that's about it. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just a quick question. The magnetic menu is on the wall to my left. Is it going in the door? There's like that short little section of wall.
Correct. It goes on the brick there, and
I see it now. I see it.
Yep.
Sorry, I see it.
And there already is a light in place there, I think, from previous restaurants having a menu there.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Both signs look fine so far. The only comment is that any of the anchors for the signs be placed in the mortar joints between the bricks and not in the bricks themselves.
Correct.
Any members have any questions, comments, or suggestions?
No, I'm good with it.
Looks fine.
Okay, then I'll quickly read through the criteria for the sign. Size, location, design, color, texture, lighting, and material of all exterior signs within the design review district shall be compatible with the building and structures of the site and surrounding properties. Acceptable. Number 2, where appropriate, signing shall respect the original sign placement and sign bans on historic structures. Acceptable. If a building has multiple tenants, there shall be consistency in placement and size among all signs. Acceptable. It is recommended that sign placement be centered over building entries. Acceptable. Sign installation shall minimize damage to character defining materials on the building. And again, the anchors should be placed in the mortar joints between the bricks. In masonry buildings, again, fasteners shall be in the mortar joints. Acceptable. Sign design, color, and typography shall respect historic precedents where appropriate and shall be of the appropriate scale for existing and new buildings. Acceptable. Sign support structures shall be compatible with the building architecture and must not be overly complex or dominant in and of themselves. Acceptable. All in favor of the 2 signs, speak your names.
Eric.
This is Martha. I say yes.
Ben,
And Steve says yes, so it's 4 in favor.
Thank you, folks.
Meredith, you want to describe the next?
Tom, so we will get that printed out as soon as possible. Do you want us to email you when it's ready versus dealing with the mail?
That would be great, Meredith. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Has everybody had a chance to review and look at the meeting minutes from November the 20th?
Yeah, and I'll make a motion to accept them the way they're written.
all second.
Second.
All in favor, speak your names.
Here.
Martha,
Ben,
Minutes are approved. Does anyone have any other business or comments at this point?
Question for Meredith. Is anything, RK Miles, is anything going to, you heard about anything that they're going to do there?
I haven't heard anything from them at this point.
It occurred to me driving by that is a huge amount of vacant space awfully close to the downtown. It's probably occurred to other people.
Maybe it's also probably the only place to have that same business reopen.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people have been missing being able to get their lumber that close.
yeah.
I just have mixed feelings about it. I love the young lumber yard there, but so many ideas for rec centers and things like that.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything.
Meredith, have we heard anything more about our 2 members?
that was my question.
So they will hopefully be appointed next week.
Okay.
I've just, with everything going on, things are crazy, so I didn't end up getting an invite out to them for tonight's meeting, unfortunately.
Okay. It would be lovely to have more people on.
Agreed.
You don't think we're opinionated enough?
We need more opinions.
Right. Did we do it?
Anything else, or do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All second.
All in favor of adjournment, speak your names.
Ben,
Martha,
Steve? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.